Some people do it the same, but it's 1,000 different drills. And one thing I see on Instagram, I know you probably get this a lot. When you post a video, they like to say, oh, what's the measurement? Or what's that? And I'm just like, and one thing I've learned is just like, I can't really tell you one because this individual is at this measurement because I know how this one gets down, but this one, it might be a little bit different for this drill. So I got a whole bunch of things we can go over for that. My name is Lemaar Shakir. A lot of people call me Coach Lemaar, Coach L. A little bit about myself, just to give a background. I was raised in Georgia. Track and field has been a part of my life since I was probably 4 years old. I didn't start hurdles until I was in high school, but after I started, never looked back and fell in love with it. I went to Savannah State on a D1 scholarship for 4 years, primarily running 400 hurdles, but also the 110 hurdles and relays. Right now, I am in Charlotte, North Carolina. I coach at Olympic High School. I am now the head coach and primarily over sprints and hurdles. And so I'm going to go over a little bit today about some things that people have for questions as far as hurdles, how to introduce hurdlers to certain techniques for people who are just now starting out, a couple drills that I think are mandatory for all hurdlers to do on a weekly basis, and maybe a couple drills that might fix certain techniques that people have questions about. All right, so what I'm going to go ahead and explain is hurdle mobility. Now, hurdle mobility, this is something that is not only meant for hurdles, sprinters as well need to be doing hurdle mobility. And you see behind me I have 4 hurdles set up. You can go anywhere in the range of 4 to 6 hurdles, but the key is using this for a warm-up or even a cool down for your hip flexors. Now, there are a couple drills that I like to do, and I'll go over and demonstrate a lot of them for you, just to show you some of the drills that hurdlers and sprinters can do to get their hips flexors warmed up, and also to practice and fine-tune technique going over the hurdle. All right, first one we have is hands on the hurdle, what I like to do. So I have my hands spread out wide. I like to get my lead leg coming over, just like that. And then I like to step down and bring this trail leg through underneath the arm. And down. Lead leg, trail leg underneath, and down. That's teaching how to keep, especially that back trail leg tight, and that heel up and tight, keeping it all tight. We don't want anything loose, especially with that trail leg when it goes out and swings out wide, because that means we're going to come in front and swing out wide and land here. We want it to come in tight here and push down. That's with our hands over the hurdles. All right, this next drill that we have has a lot of different names, but I like to say high knees down the middle, and it's basically establishing a rhythm. So what we're going to do is keep driving both knees up over the hurdle, stepping down, getting to the next one. There we go. And all of this, that's going to establish the rhythm. A lot of new people who are new to track and field may not have the rhythm, but do this over and over again, and that's teaching rhythm. That's what hurdles are. It's all a rhythm. And basically, you're just driving your knee up, stepping down, bring the next one over, high knee, stepping down. You can go down and back, you can go down, switch sides, and go back the opposite side, but that's for that drill. So the next drill I have is, now we're going over the side. And I'm gonna be on this side of the hurdle, and all I'm gonna do is have a slightly bent leg, not fully locked out, but not bent. We're gonna go right over the hurdle, and come down with the other one. So to demonstrate, practicing rhythm again. Just coming down the side, and we can come back. And that's the next drill of the hurdle mobility. All right, so the next one I like to call unders. Now this drill, you will see a lot of the athletes who don't have flexible and strong hips. You'll definitely be able to tell. Now you can see as Coach is doing, he's taking a wide step underneath the hurdle, squatting his butt, not bending over his back, and stepping under the hurdle. Now this drill, most of the time for ladies, it is something easy they can do. Guys normally have a hard time doing this because they don't stretch out the hips enough. But I will tell you, I've seen guys who are 6'3" like myself, or even 6'5", have the hurdles all the way down and be flexible enough to go all the way underneath the hurdle. Start up with the hurdles raised 1 or 2, and as the season progresses and they're more flexible, you lower them down. Next drill like to call is my two-step drill, which is basically getting the lead and the trail leg coming down in between each hurdle. For my beginners, I like to have them walk through this drill just so they can feel what the movements are. Now, for my advanced, I like to tell them that they can skip, which is basically mini bounces in between and coming over the hurdle. All right, so next that I love to do for my hurdles, I like to call them fence drills or wall drills. Now, it's a lot of different type of fence and wall drills that you can do. So I'm just gonna go over a couple of them that you and your athletes are able to do. First one is raindrops. What it's basically working on is simple driving up the lead leg. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna have my right leg as my lead leg, and all I'm gonna do is drive this foot to the height of the hurdle and almost like a bounce motion. So I'm here, I'm just driving, getting that knee up and bouncing. Now you can do this early in the season. I like to do probably 2 sets of 20 on each leg, so I might go 20 straight on my left leg. And once I'm done with 20, I go to my right leg and do that 2 times. That is what I like to call raindrops. Next one is working on the trail leg. I like to call this one airplanes. So what we're gonna do is the hurdle is up 2 notches. I'm gonna drop my back one down 1 notch so it has a slant on it. Reason is, our trail leg, we never wanna have our knee be lower than our ankle. And you see a lot of hurdlers where this may be the case, that knee's pointing down. I need that knee to be parallel or right at this angle. So for the airplanes, working on the trail leg, I'm gonna be against a fence or a wall, have this trail leg up like this. I'm gonna slide this knee up to the front of this hurdle, come in front, drop it down. After airplanes, it's just doing trail legs with the hurdle at equal heights. So once again, I'm on the fence, I'm on the balls of my feet. I wanna make sure my butt's not sticking out, pushing my hips forward. I'm gonna get my trail leg. First step, point that right foot out. Now I wanna drive my knee up, over, and back down. Out, up, over, and back down. Now this drill, I like to have 2 hurdles set up. This first hurdle in front of me is all the way down. This next hurdle, I have it 1 notch up. What we're gonna work on is bringing the trail leg around, but also making sure when it gets in front of us to hold it in that position. A lot of athletes, when they bring the trail leg around, like to open up. So this one's gonna teach you to hold it in this position so we step down. You're gonna have the hurdles spaced out about 1 foot away from each other. All you're gonna do is come over with your lead leg, trail leg comes through, right on top of the hurdle. You're gonna walk around, do it again, lead steps down, trail leg comes through, right on top of the hurdle. Once again, that's teaching us to have this trail leg nice and tight, right in front of us, so it's stepping down and not opening up. All right, for this next drill, I really like to use this for all my runners or hurdlers who do the 100 and 110 hurdles. This is teaching how to drive that lead leg up when we're attacking the hurdle, and also teaching how to do that penultimate step. So attacking the hurdles, most high school athletes take 8 steps to the first hurdle. Now the last 2 steps, steps 7 and 8, are supposed to be very quick. They're a shorter distance. So for this drill, I like to start with my lead leg that I like to go over the hurdle with, and then I like to step down and drive the knee. I'm catching the wall with my hands, but I'm driving the knee. Once again, quick, step down, driving the knee up, attacking the hurdle. So for the next part of that drill, you can add a hurdle into it. Now this is working on the trail leg. So what we'll do is, we'll be right behind the hurdle. We're gonna step down with our lead and go around with our trail and hold it when we hit the wall. All I'm gonna do is step down, trail, hold it. Holding that position here. Once again, step, drive the trail leg, hold it through, catch yourself with the wall. That helps the athlete so they're not falling forward. They have something like a barrier to help them hold themselves up, but also getting to that position and feeling what it feels like to hold that position before stepping down.
for beginning hurdlers, like they're not used to going over hurdles, like getting the 3-step in between, which is actually before I always like wonder about that. But they're not used to getting the amount of hurdles, steps in between the hurdles. So how do they get comfortable with that?
So for that, a cardinal rule is never put the distance of the hurdles too far. If you want to practice 3 steps or 4 steps, like Coach says, normally you can start anywhere between 6 feet, 15 feet, 17 feet, 19 feet. You never want to have it at race distance, especially for a new hurdler. One, they're not powerful enough to get to that next hurdle and actually complete a 3 or 4 step to that next hurdle. 2, you want to have them comfortable with getting the frequency down between the steps in between. You want it to be quick. So if it's too far out, then it takes too long, and that's when they start to overstride to get to that hurdle. All right, so now when teaching hurdles, main thing is hurdles is a rhythm. Now you have a lot of hurdlers who are very new to hurdling and aren't ready to go over anything that's probably about 27 inches or more. So we can start out with wickets that are 6 inches, wickets that are 12 inches, 22 inches, or even if you don't have wickets, something easy, take the hurdles that you do have, hold them down, and now you have about 14, 16 inches of a hurdle that you can set up multiple times. So for establishing the rhythm, I like to teach all of mine to go through a 4-step rhythm. So all you got to do is, for a drill, simply have them stand in front of the wicket, come over, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and that's the drill. Now you can set up, right now I have 4, you can set up probably 10 of these. No matter what the size, you can set it up, and they all work the same. Even if I come over to the 12-inch, doing the same rhythm pattern I was doing over here, driving the lead leg up, trail leg comes behind, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now when I do a lot of my drills, especially in the fall during conditioning season, 1, I like to get on the turf as much as I can. Helps shave those shins, getting beat up on the track. Next, a lot of my hurdlers, they don't go over an actual hurdle until maybe 2 months after we've been drilling. Why? Because I like to take it to the basics. I like to see exactly how your form is looking, especially over these smaller hurdles. Then we move on to the big hurdles, and that's when we get to go a little bit faster over certain drills. So for an example distance, I have my 22-inch hurdles, and right now I only have them spaced out about 15 feet, which is perfect. Any new hurdler, as long as they're pushing through, should be able to do this for you. So I'm going to practice my 3-step. I'm driving both knees up, putting them down, 3-step to the next one. All right, so what I like to do is add on a pole. You can use any type of pole you have, PCV pipe, anything you can have that's straight bar that the athletes can hold in both hands. I like to have this, especially up here, takes the arms out of it. Stabilizes your core a lot more and makes you focus on driving the knees and coming over the hurdles. So it doesn't matter if I'm going over wickets or if I'm going over taller hurdles, I can still use this. This is up tall. I don't want to see a lot of wobbling. I want this to be stabilized, my shoulders squared, straight ahead. And I'm still doing, just cycling through, but keeping the core engaged with this pole up. When they get a little bit more advanced, you can bring the core here to make it here to stabilize as well. Still technique, driving the knees up. So the next one I love to do, and this will definitely tell you a lot of the hurdlers, what things they're missing or what things they need to work on. It's a 1-step drill. 1-step using my lead leg over the side, trail leg over the side, and then over the top of the hurdle. So the first thing we're going to do is doing a 1-step with my lead leg. So my left is going to be my lead, and all I'm focusing on is driving this arm no higher than the chin. I don't want to look at my watch. That's old school. I want to bring it here, drive my lead, and back down, cycle 1-step. So to show you how to do this, we're going to be here. This is going to be my takeoff leg. It's going to be my lead. 1, 1, 1. All it is just quick focus, driving that knee, driving this arm, getting it back down. And that's focused on one step for the lead leg. All right, next we're gonna move on to the trail leg. Now, I have these spaced out just at 6 feet. That's where you wanna start at. When they get more advanced, you can space them out. I've seen hurdlers go all the way to 12 feet. But for now, we're gonna have it about 6 feet. All we're gonna do is focus on, now with that trail leg, stepping down, driving with the lead leg on the side, bringing the trail leg over the side. And we're gonna make sure that heel stays tight to the butt, knees drive tight, bringing it down. Here we go. Step, drive. Now you'll see, with the spacing being that close, the hurdler is forced to bring that trail leg in tight and put it down tight. If they step out too wide, they get too close to that hurdle. And that's the one step for the trail leg. Now, when they get a little bit more advanced, then they have the one step that's going over the top of the hurdle. So now we're going right in the middle. Once again, you'll be able to see if they're driving that knee up high enough. If they're keeping that trail leg tight, how the ankle and the knee ratio. Is the ankle coming up too far off? Is it staying below the knee? Is it coming out too far here for the trail leg, or is it pushing down? So now we're gonna do the one step. You can stand in front, you can stand behind or on the side, and you'll get different angles of how the hurdler looks to be able to fix different cues. So one step. That's one step. Now notice, you hear my lead and my trail. That's the sound that you want to look for. Anytime it starts to lag, that means they're taking too much time for one of their mechanics.
What about when athletes are at races, you can tell that they had a coach, but they'll have one of the hurdles shorter, at a shorter distance. What does that accomplish?
So that is what we call jam spacing and bunch spacing. Now, my key rule, especially for my 100 and 110 hurdlers, never want to go over practice at race distance. It takes way too much energy. Plus, we like to teach our hurdlers, especially for that sprint race, to be quick in between the hurdles. So the easiest way to do it is to jam the spacing. Now, guys are usually at 30 feet and girls are usually at 28 feet. So what I like to do for my spacing is I'll move in the girls to about 25 feet and I move in my guys to about 27 feet. Okay. Now, depending on the part of the season, if you're in the beginning of the season, definitely start that small. Once you get towards your peak period and you're getting towards your main competitions or your conference, regionals, and states, that's when you can start moving it out a lot more, maybe 2 feet, 1 feet, or even maybe if you're near states, race distance. But you always want to start with a jammed or a bunch spacing because it's hard, especially at practice, when you can't mimic the race pace to get to that distance. And you want to teach quick frequencies. So if I want my hurdler, for example, for a girl to be at about 1.10 seconds in between each hurdle, it's kind of hard to do that at practice if they're at race distance. If I put it in 3 feet, then it's a lot easier and they get to feel how quick they need to be to get over the hurdle and in between the hurdles when they're jammed or bunched in.
So Coach Lemaar is the newly minted head coach here at Olympic High School. I'm at newly minted at West Charlotte High School. So, it ain't no competition, but it's going to be competition. But yeah, me and Lemaar met a while ago. Yes. And we actually we were next door neighbors and ran into each other, started talking about track and field and everything like that when we wasn't even coaching. Mm-hmm. And now we're both coaches at different high schools. So tell them a little bit about where they can find you on social media, anything you got going on as far as camps and things or future projects.
Right now, we're getting ready to start school at the end of the month. We're also getting ready for our fall training. We usually start around September time. So track season is right upon us. Cross country team right now is going through. So I have a couple of my mid-distance sprinters getting ready for that. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm at Coach Lemaar on Instagram. That's pretty much the only social media I use for that one. But if you want to support, always come out to Olympic. Feel free to reach out to me. My email is even coachlemar@gmail.com. If you have anything for questions about hurdles or even sprints, feel free to ask.
There you go. So contact them. And thank you for,
of course,
doing all of these drills for the episode, man. Somebody gonna be a professional hurdler.
I hope so. That is my hope.
And you better add them.
Definitely do. But that's my hope. A lot of hurdlers, I have some that come from different schools. They don't know what they do to get better at hurdles. They may not have a hurdle coach, but some of these basic drills, you do them maybe 2-3 times a week, especially for the fence drills or anything like that. And I promise you, you'll definitely see some progression, and definitely hope you get some PRs for your hurdle races.
So there you go. You just got to put the work in. You got all the information. Just put the work in. It's as simple as that. All right. So again, thank you.
Appreciate you, Coach.
Yes, indeed. And I'll see you on the track.
Oh, yes.